Thank you again for choosing Trapp Cadillac Chevrolet.
Trapp Cadillac Chevrolet has been serving South Louisiana for over 50 years. That's right, 50 years. No matter how much Trapp has grown, you can count on hometown feel, friendly service every time you stop it. Our unmatched service and diverse Chevrolet, Cadillac, and pre-owned inventory has set us apart as the preferred car dealer in South Louisiana. We're also known for our outstanding auto repair service, changing your oil quickly and easy financing.
We promise to always give the most in your auto buying experience here at Trapp Cadillac Chevrolet in Houma.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. And you know, it's one of those things where I don't know that everybody is talking as much about the far-reaching impact of the Super Bowl, but I promise you it is reaching us. Very glad to have with us the newly assigned Executive Director, Mr. Ed Jarvis, Terrebonne Airport. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been everybody's been extremely gracious.
Oh, good. It's part of the way of life down here.
It is.
It's a South Louisiana thing. We're really proud of that. But we like to welcome people home because we like it to be the last place you ever want to live.
Right.
And a great place to be. So we're excited to have you. And again, coming in at a really interesting time as we see this very far-reaching impact of the Super Bowl. And I don't know that people around maybe the states or the globe kind of realize how far-reaching a Super Bowl can be.
Yeah, I mean, this is a boom for Louisiana. Almost all the airports are involved in it. Mm-hmm. You know, the capacity at New Orleans and Lakefront, they can only park so many airplanes.
Right.
And that has a worldwide audience, and people want to be there. So when the parking is no longer, then we got to reach out and ask other folks, hey, do you have some parking? Mm-hmm. And of course, we're fortunate that we have a long runway so we can get some of the bigger aircraft, and we have a lot of pavement. So we're working with our fixed base operator and other individuals to make sure that first impressions of the airport and stuff is favorable.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. You know, we've seen on some of the New Orleans media all of the changes. Even to this day, they're talking about the changes to the Superdome, right? There was a lot of those. But we're doing some of those facelifts, if you will, down here.
Yes.
You know, 48, 50 miles away, because we are hosting, much like a lot of the area is, for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, to give you an example, so we basically, the last time the Super Bowl was in New Orleans, we had about 20 aircraft that came in as what I call the overflow.
Okay.
As of today, it's around 150.
Wow.
And we're talking not just little two-seaters, we're talking $50, $60 million jets. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you talk 100 airplanes, that's probably right around $500 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. $500 million coming in to the Houma-Terrebonne Airport.
And we have our rental companies have stepped up. We have at least 50 to 75 rental cars. So when these folks come in, we park them, they can get in the car and head.
And much like some of these big commercial airports.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And I got to tell you, just over the years, I want you to know, I grew up about a mile and a half away from the airport.
Okay.
So it is truly home to me. East Homa's home to me. Seeing how much that airport has grown, and now to accept all of these big aircraft coming in is remarkable.
Yep.
Because it's always been considered this little rural airport, and it's not anymore.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we suffer from, yes, we're a general aviation versus a Part 139, which is a commercial.
Right.
But we're unique, and I hate to use that, but we are probably the busiest helicopter operation in the world.
Yeah.
And so when you talk about the helicopter's going to be flying during all of this, and then you have all these jets coming, and most of them will probably leave right after the Super Bowl.
Right.
So it's going to be a busy time, and myself and a lot of folks, we're all hands on deck, and we'll be working through the weekend just to make sure.
Right. And again, that requires a great deal of oversight. That requires a great deal of expertise and precision when it comes to all of those moving parts, especially being airplanes and helicopters.
It does, and no matter how good the plan is, you got to be able to call an audio should it go south.
Right.
We've actually shut one of our runways down to put some of the airplanes on it.
Oh, wow.
So the intersecting runway, the short one, you're not even going to be able to use.
Will be closed.
Yeah.
And again, very smart decision,
Yep.
right? Because it gives you a lot more parking.
Right.
And when we're talking parking, we're talking about airplane parking.
Yeah, you're talking, some of these airplanes have a wingspan of 91 feet, and they're 80 feet long.
Yeah, I mean,
good
that's
size.
Exactly. And so just really remarkable that we down here in Houma, and you may think about Lafayette or Baton Rouge and them being able to take in some of the overflow, but we should be very, very proud that 20 airplanes came in last time the Super Bowl was here, and we're looking at more than 150 or so.
Yep.
That's remarkable.
Yep, and I can't say enough about the FBO operator. He's really stepped up and done a lot of social media to let people know that you can use our airport, and it's just, we want everybody to be successful.
Well, and you guys have done so much really to expand those options and drones there, and I know we'll talk a lot about that and all the opportunities and options that we have with that. But we're doing so much to really grow and really make it attractive here in Houma. And it's a short drive as it relates to some of these other big cities. It's a short drive right there to New Orleans.
Well, and in the next segment, when we talk about the drones, I'll talk a little bit about how we're going to revolutionize that
area.
portion. Yes.
Yeah. Remarkable. I appreciate that. And so if people are listening and they're still trying to figure out where they want to come in and land, right here at the Houma-Terrebonne Airport, they can do that. Just need to make arrangements for what the flight arrangements are, and we'll get them on the ground safely and to the Super Bowl and what they need.
That's right.
So, Ed, we appreciate you sticking with us a little bit more. I want to find out a little more about how you got here and some of the really exciting things over at the airport.
Okay.
All right, guys, you stick around as well. We'll be right back right here on Bayou Time.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Once again, your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. Very glad to have back with us Mr. Ed Jarvis, new executive director of the Houma-Terrebonne Airport. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
All right. And so it's really interesting. We were talking about Super Bowl and this new role for you. A lot of those things go together. But there's a lot of safety features that we have in place, and there's this no drone zone. Jay, pull that up if you don't mind. Tell us a little bit about this and the importance of it.
So part of the problem has been that folks want to use those drones and they want to get out and get the pictures. And there's just too many issues from a security and a safety point of view. So the FAA has basically put up a temporary flight restriction and has also designated a no drone zone. So even an airplane that's going to come in has to be on a special code and has to be talking to air traffic control to get into the zone.
Yeah, very good. And so again, you can't get near that zone without communication, which is so very important.
Right.
And we don't need a drone somewhere in between there, creating any difficulty or causing trouble with that. Much like you and your new role here, talking about the volume of helicopter traffic, more in Houma than anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Which is remarkable. People just don't know that, right?
Yeah, and it's surprising. So I spent 2 years in Iraq at the Baghdad International Airport. Now, there was a time that we had quite a few combat helicopters. But when we're talking day to day, a civilian side, this Maybe up in New York, they might have quite a few, but I'm not sure it's up to this.
Right.
In fact.
Yeah.
I was told that somebody's put into Guinness Book of World Records to see if we, in fact, can claim that title or not.
Right. Officially. That official title.
Right.
Well, speaking of official, tell us a little bit about your path. I know you came from a snow area, and we welcomed you with 10 inches of snow.
Yes. So my last job was in Central Virginia. It was a small GA airport. I've retired several times. I did almost 23 years in the Air Force as an air traffic controller, and then I worked for the FAA as a safety inspector, operational research analyst, and program manager.
Okay.
And I retired from that. So I had almost 40 years of government time when I retired. So I've been pretty much a civil servant since I was 18 years old.
Well, thank you for all of your service, 40 years of service to our country, and now you get to serve us here in South Louisiana.
Yes.
Which takes all of that knowledge and education and information to what some people would call, my brother called it once a sleepy little town, is no longer.
Right.
Certainly if you're watching the volume of helicopters and planes fly in. That same individual, by the way, at my parents' house, which is a mile and a half away from the airport, will stop and watch any helicopter flying in and out. I'm going to have to tell him next time you come, you'll be awfully busy.
Yeah, for sure. You know, with this new advanced aviation that they're attempting to do, what we're trying to do is set up so that these vertical electric 4 to 6 people
Passenger.
you're going to be able to come to Houma, get on board, and it'll take you to New Orleans and hopefully drop you off on the secure side, and then you just go to your gate instead of driving.
Okay.
And I think the other thing is that we get a lot of individuals that work for PHI in Bristol, and you know they come in at all hours.
Yes, they do.
And if you could have them report to a further out airport and fly them in, it might be safer, only because they haven't worked all night and tired and stuff like that. So,
for some of those multiple shifts, those evening and night shifts. That we have to fly 24 hours a day.
Yep.
It's just
and unfortunately,
transport.
most of us aren't very good, even though we're supposed to take a sleep period. Life gets in the way.
Right. And you know, some of the research that just working in hospital systems over the years that I have, we know that it takes some time to recover from that switch from days to nights. And we still have some of those shifts where they're switching.
Yeah.
Right. And so just tiredness and lethargy and some of those things that can play a part. Safety's got to be first and foremost when it comes to any flights.
Right. And the human factors, that's where a lot of that came out of, is the surgeons in the hospitals, because at some point there was a lot of miscommunication and somebody was getting operated on the wrong piece, body part. And so they really...
Yeah, that's why we write L and R on the left and right. And they do that. It seems a little archaic, but you know, for somebody that's a hospital resident that's been up all night because of where they work, so that makes sense. So tell us a little bit about how this has felt moving to South Louisiana, and you mentioned it a little bit off the air, but tell us as we wrap up what it's like to move to a place in South Louisiana like this.
Well, you know, luckily I've lived a lot of places in the world, so I always approach it as a new place. Once I get into the mindset that I am going to make the move, then I'm all in. And stuff. So when I heard about this, I actually flew down here, unbeknownst to anybody, to check the place out for a couple of days, and then went back, thought about it for another day or two, and then submitted my application. So I'm in here, you know, for as long as they'll allow me to be the executive director, and if they're happy with the work we're doing, I think you're going to see a lot of things. They have a great staff. I told them that. I said, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that little bit and make it even better.
Nice.
And so...
Yeah. Well, that's certainly the plan. Well, we want to welcome you to South Louisiana. Look forward to great and more great things from the airport. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for joining us today. All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment and this Bayou Time, but don't go anywhere. A whole lot more right here on HTV.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.